PERS, or pension reform, is one of the biggest issues facing both employers and the state as well. This is simply a crisis that's growing as we have a graying population. As folks are leaving the workforce, we are finding ourselves burdened almost with having to pay for these retirement plans, and we simply don't have the fundings. And many cities find themselves in this situation where they're just facing this crisis, and it's a mounting crisis as people leave the workforce. So that's the biggest trigger here is PERS reform. It's something that really needs to happen. How do we address this? How do we take the burden off cities to make sure that we're still taking care of those who've served us so well for so long, but still being able to manage our city budgets?
There's only so much money that every city has, and so they have to fund the things that are most pressing and at the forefront of their minds when they're looking at their budget. So when we're talking about pensions and retirements, we have to look at other things we may not be able to provide as a city as a whole in general. I think as a society rather, where are we going to cut things back? What programs are we not going to be able to offer? What are the things we'd like to see that maybe are a little proactive on an issue that we can't implement because we're looking at those additional costs that we've already kind of incurred?
Our pension costs are a massive percentage of our personnel costs. So we're not only paying the people who are currently paving streets or policing or whatever they're doing, we're also paying a lot of people who used to do those jobs and aren't anymore. And while I've got nothing against those folks, retirees deserve a pension. The way the pension was put together in the first place is really hamstringing our abilities to continue to provide services at the level people expect.
I think that a lot of the financial impacts that we are constantly struggling with are probably centered around PERS.
As a city councilor, the impact we see is additional revenue that comes into the city and that would otherwise be diverted towards infrastructure, towards services, towards public safety. These funds now go into the PERS, the PERS fund to cover those expenses.
Around Oregon, about a third of the personnel budgets are taken up with PERS costs, which is extremely high. I don't know, we just live with it. It's something we can't control, so we just pay it.
Because of the measure, 5 and 50, there's some compression issues that we run into, and most of us are at that. And so trying to figure out ways that we can maximize that revenue and still provide the same services, we're all at that crossroads of trying to figure that out. And so we're looking for some support and help at the legislative level, and hopefully that comes here in the near future because we're going to have to start cutting services, including parks and police services and libraries and all the things I think community constituents have come to expect from their city, and that's a large concern for a lot of our member cities.
Property taxes don't even pay for the police department, and so those are the kind of things that we're all facing. And with the FCC wanting to limit our franchise fee ability, we have to pay for things one way or another, and that's what's going to happen. And all the cities are looking at the same challenges. Again, it's just where the decimal point is.
We have folks who are living on fixed incomes, and so they do need some predictability and they do need some relief, because right now they're in their homes, and it is what they have to provide that stable housing into their golden years. And at the same time, you have young families, people who are working full time, who are living paycheck to paycheck, and rising property, rent, property taxes, anything, it's all wrapped up together. That puts the squeeze on them as well.